So I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today. My name is Michelle Dumas, and I'm the founder and CEO of Distinctive Career Services. My background, it was initially in counseling psychology, but I also have a gift for telling stories and writing, a knack for graphic design, and a real natural intuitiveness that I pulled together in what was 25 years ago when I launched it, a very unique and pioneering business, working remotely with executives and professionals all over the world to craft their career marketing strategies and documents. And I am really very excited to be here with you today and feel very privileged to be able to share my knowledge with you regarding modern trends in executive resumes and bios and LinkedIn profiles. Now, I've put together a really information-packed presentation with a whole lot of examples from our client file so that I can show you, rather than just tell you, about all of the current modern trends that you're going to need to know about. All right, so specifically, there are 5 areas that I want to cover with you today. So the first is to talk about exactly what it is when I talk about a personal brand and what it is that I mean when I talk about a branded career portfolio. So next, I'll explain the ways that having your own branded career portfolio will empower you and give you a really competitive edge. Third, I'm going to talk about a big picture global trend that you have to know about and the ways that it has really transformed career documents. Next, I'm going to give you some tips about the areas to look at to transform and modernize your own executive resume and bio if you determine that it needs updating. And finally, I will discuss LinkedIn profile best practices that will help you to craft a powerful and attention-getting LinkedIn profile. So there are a lot of misunderstandings out there regarding personal branding. So before we get started, I want to define exactly what it is that we're talking about. So what is a personal brand? Well, simply put, a personal brand is your authentic and unique promise of value. So whether you have intentionally created it or not, everyone has a personal brand. Your personal brand is what others think about you and what they say about you. It's what you're known for, and it's what those around you expect from you. So that brings us to personal branding, which is, of course, the verb form of a personal brand, implying action. So personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort to communicate, to present, and to position your brand to the world. So it's a strategy of working to purposely influence public perception, to increase your credibility, to differentiate yourself, and to position yourself as an authority in certain areas. All right, so digging a little bit deeper into what a personal brand is, there are 4 key elements to a successful personal brand. Now, the first is that it differentiates you and it calls out the ways in which you are unique from other people. The second is that it's authentic. It has to feel right to you, and it can't feel forced or fake in any way. The third is that it is focused. So in other words, it's very, very clear about who you are. And then the fourth is that it is natural. So natural that those who already know you would just nod their head in agreement if we were to describe your brand to them right now. So your personal brand, it's basically the shorthand for you, right? It's the essence of who you are, and it has to be authentic to you. It reflects your unique personal attributes and qualities. It isn't about being fake in any way. Trying to brand yourself as something that you're not is never going to work. Your brand is you at the very, very core. So while personal branding can have a positive impact, across your entire life, multiple areas of your life, today we're going to focus on how it is beneficial to you professionally and in your career, which is, of course, my particular area of expertise. So there are 3 areas of clarity that we seek when we're working with clients in order to uncover their brand so that we can express it in their career documents. So the first are your unique skills and qualifications that you offer that that differentiating aspect that I mentioned a few minutes ago. The second is your personality and what it is that you're really passionate about. This encompasses that authenticity and focus piece of it. And then the third are the needs and the expectations and the requirements of the position or the industry that you're targeting, because you want to, of course, express your brand in a way that makes it relevant to your target audience. So in other words, your personal brand is the story of you across all aspects of your life. But when it comes to the expression of your brand in your professional life, you want to do so in a way that is going to make it intriguing and compelling to your target audience. So many executives develop their personal branding when they're looking for a new opportunity. But personal branding can also help you to be more effective and to be more visible in your current employment as well. In short, a strong and effective personal brand, it creates interest and it compels people to want to learn more about you, and more important, to hire you, to promote you, and to endorse you to others. Taking the time to establish and interject your personal brand throughout your entire professional life, it will have many positive impacts. It will give you clarity about the trajectory of your career, and it will give others that same clarity when they think about you. It will help you to feel more confident about your own value, and in turn, it will give you the ability to speak with conviction about the value that you offer. It will allow you to distinguish yourself from your peers and competitors in the executive job market, increasing both your credibility and your visibility, of course. It will open doors to new opportunities, helping you to win the most lucrative and rewarding jobs, accelerating your career, basically becoming a magnet for opportunities, becoming hunted instead of having to do that hunting yourself. And last but not least, your brand will help you to express your proven ROI in a way that will help you to command higher levels of compensation that are more in line with the value that you provide to employers. In short, when you become clear on your personal brand and your associated value proposition, you become priceless and empowered. So back to that original question, what is a branded career portfolio? And the short answer is really very simple. A branded career portfolio is your expression of your personal brand across all of your career marketing related documents. So for executives, at a minimum, this is going to mean a branded executive resume, a branded executive bio, and a branded LinkedIn profile. These are the three pieces that you will inevitably need at some point to promote your executive career, but it can also apply to all and any other documents that you use in your personal career marketing efforts. So for example, cover letters, networking resumes, your elevator pitch, and other social media profiles. The point, of course, is to present a very credible image and cohesive personal brand and value proposition across all the different mediums. That is the primary reason that if you are thinking about having your resume professionally written, or your bio, or your LinkedIn profile, I really highly recommend that you have your entire portfolio written at the same time rather than approaching it in a piecemeal way, because this ensures that your brand, your messaging, and the look and feel of your entire portfolio is very cohesive and complementary. All right, so that was a lot of introduction to get to our main topic. What are the current trends in executive resumes, bios, and LinkedIn profiles? Now, to understand the trends and why they have come about, it's really important to acknowledge that we're living in a time when change is happening incredibly fast. But not only are things changing really quickly, virtually all of us who are living modern lives today are absolutely overloaded with information. Many of us have really hyperactive online habits, and we work in this true culture of interruptions. We're being bombarded with information pretty much everywhere we turn, right? Emails and texts, tweets and Facebook, news and weather alerts that come across on our phones. We are assaulted with facts, and they come at us really fast and really quickly. All of this information, it's really truly more than our brains can handle. It's exhausting and it's stressful. Now, add in the fact that humans' attention spans are getting shorter. The average attention span is currently just 8 seconds or less, according to a recent Microsoft study. And this is 30% less than similar research had found 10 years prior. Now, nobody really knows the cause of this quite yet. It could be a side effect of all our digital communications, or it could be a coping mechanism against information overload. I personally believe that a big part of the puzzle is that technology is training us away from slow reading. But whatever the cause is, it is true. Humans' attention spans, they're getting shorter. So if we recognize those facts, that humans are overloaded with more information than our brains are able to process, that digital technology is continually distracting us, and that at the same time our attention spans are getting shorter, the question becomes, how does this impact resumes and other career documents? And the answer, if you haven't guessed, is textual minimalism. We want to write tight and lean, and we want to make sure that every single word counts. And then we need to combine this with other strategies that are known to improve attention and comprehension. So when it comes to your executive resume and your bio, and also your LinkedIn, though we'll talk about that separately in a few minutes, here are the 4 modern trends that you have to be aware of. And they're all relating back to this fast, distracted, information overloaded world that we live in. So first, you want your documents to catch attention and be eye-appealing. But it's more than just appearance alone, although appearance really does matter in relation to, the first impression that your resume makes. But you want to use design in thoughtful and strategic ways that make your documents easier to read and that draw the eyes from key point to key point. Now, second, you want to make sure that the content of your resume is brief and punchy and value infused and written in ways that really captivate the reader by speaking directly to their needs. You don't want to expect your reader to take the time to figure things out on their own, because trust me, they will not take the time. Your resume has to be written so that they know with little more than a glance exactly how what you're offering will add value, will solve their problems, will meet their challenges, and will achieve their goals. Now, third, the concept of storytelling in business has become really quite popular over the past few years or so. But for those of us who work in the personal branding and career marketing spaces, storytelling has always been very central to our work. Using stories engage readers. They create emotion, and they entice our readers to keep reading. Stories win attention, and they keep attention. And I will show you some storytelling in action with some examples shortly so you understand this better. And then last but not least is this move that so many companies and recruiters have made to store the resumes of applicants digitally in applicant tracking systems, also known as ATS for short. Now, of course, this shift to digital storage, it's all about saving time and making things more efficient in this fast, information overloaded world that we live in. And when it comes to your resume, this means that overshadowing everything else, you need to make sure that your resume is ATS compatible. All right, so I'm going to start with the first trend, which is a trend toward colorful, eye-appealing resumes and other career documents. Now, it could seem to you as though this should come last in my presentation, right? Because design is, after all, the icing on the cake. It's that finishing touch on your powerful, compelling, persuasive resume. Now, while that's true, it's also true that all of that compelling, persuasive text, it's not going to mean anything if you don't get and keep the attention of your intended reader to begin with. The simple fact is that humans are visually wired. So almost 50% of our brain is devoted to processing visual information. And graphics and visuals help us with information overload. Not only do our brains register graphics far faster than text, graphics are also more memorable. Research has shown that while we remember on average only 20% of what we read and 10% of what we hear, we remember 80% of what we actually see. So using color in your visuals has an equally dramatic impact. Color significantly increases our willingness to read text, and it has been shown to also significantly increase comprehension. Color has also been proven to increase readers' attention spans and the time that they spend reading a document. Now, overall, text that's enhanced with color versus black and white text is far more likely to be read. And a study that I found really interesting because it has a direct relation to the way that we format resumes found that using color to highlight information on a page actually improves the ability of the reader to pick out important information 39% faster than just using different font styles like bolding or italics. So knowing all of this, you can now understand why modern resumes virtually always include at least splashes of color or other graphical enhancements. But even beyond these reasons, color affects perception. And in the context of a resume, it can really impact the first impression that your resume makes. Colors convey different emotions, and colors influence what we think and how we feel. That means that using colors in your career marketing documents can help to convey your personal brand, and they can even help to tell your story. So for example, blue is generally accepted to convey brand attributes like trustworthiness and competence and responsibility. Green conveys money and revitalization and nature. Orange, creativity, productivity, an adventurous spirit. The bottom line here is that color choices should not be random. You want to give some real thought to the image that you want to convey and then choose your color scheme strategically. So when we're talking about how the design of resumes has evolved, the changes can be really striking. Now these are very real resumes from my client files, and I started with 1995 because this was pretty much the very beginning of my career as a professional resume writer. But it's also a really good starting point because to some degree this was also about the time that people began to use word processors to create a resume versus using a typewriter and photocopies. Remember those? Now, typewriters, of course, pretty much limited your options to slim to none when it came to design. And I'd say that that is why when word processors were starting to become more common, it was considered pretty cutting edge to do simple things that we take for granted today, like making the fonts and for the resume headings a little bit larger and the person's name larger, or to selectively bold and italicize text, or to do something really edgy like using ruling lines to separate the sections or to put a border around the page. But even though it was new and trendy, in a world of typewritten resumes, these more attractive word process resumes began to catch on, and about 12 to 14 years later or so, conservative design elements like call-out boxes and shading, they were starting to become more common, although still almost all resumes were grayscale. Now, it's really hard to put an exact date on it, but around 2015 or so, things began to really shift again, and when they did, they took a quantum leap forward. This is when you began to see color and infographic elements, such as graphics and charts and graphs that are used in resumes. So these are all examples from my files, all from the past 6 or 7 years or so. And the design and formatting of executive bios have changed in that period of time as well. No longer is a bio just text on a page. Today we think of them as important pieces in your branded executive career portfolio, and the visual appearance is designed to match the branding of your resume, giving all of the pieces a really cohesive look and feel. And that brings us to the second trend, which is really all about your resume content. You need to write tight and lean. Within moments, your reader has to understand the so what behind your resume. Why should they take the time to review it, and why should they care? Resumes are really scanned for seconds. That first review, it's nothing more than a process to filter out unqualified candidates. Imagine yourself in the shoes of the person reviewing resumes, quickly scanning through them. It's only if something really literally pops out at the reader, something that directly relates to a need or a problem that the reader hopes to solve, that the resume will grab their attention and that it's going to be set aside for more thorough review. So you can see that in these two examples. In the top example, we're very, very clear about who this person is, that she works with pre-IPO and rapid growth disruptive technology companies, and that she has been successful repeatedly as a technology executive at the helm of visionary strategies, transformation, pivotal initiatives, and radical problem solving that propels growing companies to scale and gain competitive advantage in a digital world. That's quite a value proposition. And it speaks to the needs of the reader that we were targeting this for. And then the second one is a little simpler. This person drives profitable business growth, improvement, and sustainable change in very high-level executive roles, such as the C-suite and president roles. And he's done this in the industries such as automotives and plastics, chemicals, and electronics, and within global business environments. All of this is very obvious at just a glance. But don't just stop with the profile of your resume. You always have to remember that your resume, it's a marketing document. It's not an autobiography. So your resume is at its core, it's an advertisement of the specific benefits that you have to offer in relation to a specific type of position. And that means that every word and every element in your resume should serve a purpose and should support your job target. If there is irrelevant or extraneous data that does not support and promote your job target and it's left in your resume, what happens is that you dilute your focus and you confuse the reader, which is the absolute worst thing you can do. You do not want that to happen. While writing lean and tight, it's not easy. It takes time and thought and effort. Doing so is very respectful of the reader's time, and it makes your resume a lot easier and faster to read. So the examples that you're looking at right now are 3 snippets of the body text from 3 very different resumes. And all are very different because every client is different, of course, but all of them use this very tight, lean style of writing, and they use design in ways that draw the eye along and make the content easier and faster to read. And that brings us to how to incorporate storytelling into the body of your resume. Now, first, you need to remember that job descriptions and paragraphs of text describing your job responsibilities, they don't distinguish you from anyone else that does the same or a similar job as you do. Job descriptions are really just the baseline of what's expected from you. If someone else in your position were to write a resume focused on a job description, it would read identical to your resume, or almost identical if you had written one on job descriptions. And obviously this is not what you want. To capture and hold your reader's attention, you have to tell a compelling story, a story of the challenges and the problems that you have faced, the actions you've taken to meet those challenges, and then the results and benefits of those actions, the actual return on investment of your actions. Without a story, your resume, it's just this bland list of disconnected facts on a piece of paper. The best resumes, they are self-marketing documents, and storytelling in your resume will transform it into that. Storytelling doesn't just humanize you beyond, these lists of jobs and education on a piece of paper. It does it in a way that creates trust, and it connects your value offering back to the reader's needs. So, in other words, by painting a picture of how you have added value in the past, you help the reader to envision how you will add value in the future to their organization. So for career documents, the most common storytelling technique is often referred to as the challenge action result strategic impact technique, so the CARS technique. And here's how you would apply that to your own resume. I like this example. It's from quite a long time ago, but I like it because it shows it very, very succinctly. So what was the challenge? Well, this person was recruited to take over leadership of a struggling company that was faced with a completely untenable loss position and major problems related to a poorly executed joint venture and acquisition, lost focus, and over-distribution of the balance sheet cash, and so on. So what did he do? Well, he fueled investment dollars. He fortified R&D, he reduced debt, he outsourced IT, he divested businesses not aligned with the platform, and then he recruited new talent. And then what was the result of this? Well, he cut losses 50% in the first year. He saved the company from the brink of failure. He fueled growth and innovation and financial improvement. And we've shown all of that with specific numbers illustrating that. And then what was the strategic impact? Well, that's shown up in the executive performance snapshot, which is a really popular technique. So in this case, he turned around a deeply troubled company that was mired in debt and in a downward spiral. He masterminded complete restructuring and created a vibrant, profitable company, and so on. So that is the lasting strategic impact that he had on this company, and it's really showcased here in the shaded box. So this example is very, very different, but I wanted to make the point that there is no one right way to do this. You should structure your resume to promote your own unique qualifications and unique stories. And in this particular case, this was a consultant who thought about his work in terms of engagements, in terms of projects, and we actually broke it down that way, with a challenge, action, result, and strategic impact for each engagement that he had been in. Okay, and then finally the fourth trend that we want to talk about, and that's applicant tracking systems. So in simplified terms, if you don't already know, an applicant tracking system is at its core just a database. It's a database in which resumes can be stored, and then applicants can be tracked and searched throughout the hiring process. Now, I don't care whether you are a new grad, fresh out of college, or whether you're a very senior level executive. If you submit your resume digitally to anyone, you have to care about whether or not it is ATS friendly. So in other words, you need to know that the text will parse correctly and be stored accurately. And you especially need to make sure that your resume includes the types of words that recruiters will input when they search for a candidate like you. So on the screen are just a few stats that I collected to convince you of this, but chief among them are that 99% of Fortune 500 companies are now using an ATS. Nearly 100% of third-party recruiting firms are using an ATS. And while only 35% of smaller companies reported using one in 2019, that number was growing quickly because, no surprise, these systems are incredibly efficient and effective. Now, I won't bore you with all of the technical details of what makes a resume ATS compatible, but I do want to tell you that there is more outdated and downright misinformation out there than there is accurate information. So you really need to be careful who you listen to. But this is especially true because technology is advancing so quickly. It's not that people are telling you mistruths on purpose. It's just that the technology has advanced so fast that even a blog post that was written a few years ago is going to be, or very well may be, outdated at this point. So my best advice, of course, is to work with a trained and experienced resume writer. At Distinctive Career Services, we continually attend workshops and trainings on applicant tracking systems and their standards. And if you work with one of our team at Distinctive Career Services, you're not going to have to worry about it. We will ensure that your resume meets current standards. But just a few points for you today. Keywords. Keywords and keywords. Now imagine yourself searching Google for information on a topic. You type in keywords that are associated with what you want to find, and in return you get this ranked list of web pages that match your search terms. Now that's a simplified way of explaining it, but an ATS search is very similar. The recruiter will type in search terms that describe what they're looking for, and if your resume includes that magic combination of these terms, your resume will be presented in this rank list of other resumes matching those search terms. So the point here is that you need to make sure that the content of your resume, the summary section, as well as the body of your resume, that it includes keywords that might be important in your industry and profession. But I also want to bust this common myth regarding resume design. Your resume can be both eye-catching and attractive and ATS compatible. So all of the examples I've been showing you today are from ATS compatible resumes. You just have to make sure that you understand ATS standards yourself, or that you work with a professional who understands them. All right, and to wrap up, I just want to give you a few pointers on LinkedIn and the ways in which you can apply this trend for tight, lean, powerful writing combined with attention-grabbing elements to enhance your LinkedIn profile too. So I'm going to assume that all of you are on LinkedIn already, and if you aren't, you should be. As of January 2021, LinkedIn was claiming some 738 million individual members, and 92% of recruiters were saying that they actively use LinkedIn when they're searching for candidates. If for no other reason than promoting your personal brand and raising your visibility, LinkedIn is a must. Now, that said, I was one of the first 150,000 members on LinkedIn back in 2003 when they first launched. And it has been really interesting for me to see how the platform has evolved. But even more interesting, as a resume writer, has been the way that LinkedIn profile best practices have evolved. So the tips I'm going to recommend to you today represent the latest in LinkedIn best practices and the trends that I am most confident have some staying power. First and foremost, I want you to remember that the purpose of LinkedIn is to foster connections and promote networking. That means that in contrast to the more formal tone that you're going to take in your executive resume and bio, your LinkedIn profile needs to be written in a conversational tone and from a first-person perspective. So in other words, it's okay to use the pronouns I and me and my in your LinkedIn profile, but this is a huge no in your resume and in your bio. And again, remember the goal here is to write your profile so that it's engaging and interesting and easy to read. Just like your resume, your LinkedIn profile needs to immediately convey to the reader why she should care, how you can meet her needs and solve her problems, and it needs to do this fast, reining the reader in from distraction and keeping her attention. And this means breaking your profile text up into short sections and using bullets to make longer text easier to read. But beyond that, it's about infusing your profile with some personality. Personality to create chemistry with the reader in a way that is so enticing that she can't resist connecting with you. Now, of course, you will also want to tell your career stories, and that CARS technique that I showed you for resumes, it's just as relevant on LinkedIn as in your resume. So definitely you want to fill your profile with stories of value and impact and ROI. And just like with the concerns over applicant tracking systems, you need to keyword optimize your profile. Make sure that important keywords that will make it easy for you to be found appear liberally throughout your profile. Within the context of your success stories, of course, you'll want your keywords, but also in your headline, and in your job titles, and in your summary. All right, so let me show you what that looks like in practice. Now, your LinkedIn headline will default to your current job title unless you take the time to customize it. So you really need to do so. You want to use the headline section to promote your personal brand and the keywords that are essential to your profession and your industry. And remember, you're not writing an obituary. Your LinkedIn profile, just like your resume, it should be forward-looking. So if you're job searching, use words that indicate the next rung of your career, not where you are right now. So for example, if you're hoping to win a board seat, but you haven't sat on a board yet, you might use the phrase board of directors candidate in your headline. So you can see these three examples, from these three examples, what I mean. The headline sections, they're full of keywords, and they also briefly convey each person's brand and value proposition. You'll also note that the default banner has been changed on each of these, and I recommend that you do the same thing. Even something simple and plain that just reflects your personal brand, your profession, or your industry, that will make you stand out. Like you see in two examples here on the screen, you can create a custom banner promoting your focus and your offerings. So if you're currently employed or your search is being kept under wraps for any other reason, be conscious that too many changes might signal your search to others. So in a case like that, just be more subtle. For example, like the profile in the bottom left of the screen. So these are the snippets of the summary section of two profiles that we've created. And you can see from them some of the best practices that I'm recommending in action. So for example, let me read from this first one. It says, I'll start down at the bottom. Life isn't all about work, and in my personal time I have a rich variety of interests that I enjoy with my wife of 20 plus years and our 3 children. For example, I play guitar, I love restoring classic cars, a hobby that landed me on national TV once, and I play competitive tennis. I believe in giving back to the community, and my charitable and board activities have often focused on education, children's health, art, and entrepreneurship. Okay, and in this example on the right, this person was a hockey fan. So it starts with a story. It says, Wayne Gretzky famously said, skate to where the puck is going, not to where it has been. As an avid ice hockey Boston Bruins fan and seasoned executive manager with decades of leadership in the insurance industry, the wisdom of Gretzky's words have guided me as I've strived to help my employer and previous employers stay on top of trends and hold a competitive edge in an industry that is continually evolving, and so on. Now again, many of the same principles of powerful resume writing apply when we're talking about writing the employment section of LinkedIn. It's okay to use a modified version of the content in your resume for this section. You'll want to edit out anything that shouldn't be public knowledge for some reason. So for example, you might soften a story about turning around a chaotic department that's been mismanaged because, of course, you don't want to burn bridges with the person that you replaced who mismanaged it. Or many times it could be inappropriate to use whole numbers or dollar figures in your success stories publicly. So you want to replace them with more general terms. So for example, a $3.5 million sale might become a multi-million-dollar sale when you rewrite it for LinkedIn. Now you should also use the same personal conversational tone that you used in your summary. So to illustrate this, I've included the snippet of a resume on the left and then the matching section of the LinkedIn profile on the right. So somewhat the same story, in many ways the same story. It's just one is told in a more formal tone, the resume, and then the LinkedIn is told in a more personal conversational tone. And you'll also want to make sure to take advantage of your ability to upload PDFs and graphics, video and audio to LinkedIn. You can link them to your summary section at the top, but also to each employment experience that you have listed. You can turn your profile into a true multimedia portfolio in this way, and this will help you to stand out. Of course, it goes without saying that you should only upload items that reflect your personal brand and value proposition and that are professional. So no audio of your debating politics on a podcast, for example, unless it has direct relevance to your career goals. And last but not least, you want to be as thorough as possible in completing your profile. Now, every now and then I have a client who really resists this and wants only the bare minimum on LinkedIn. And while I suppose that that is better than nothing, they are missing out on all sorts of opportunities that might come to them if they had made themselves easier to be found. As a colleague of mine often says, your LinkedIn profile should basically be your resume on steroids. So in other words, while you want to keep it relevant and you don't want to include anything that's dense or hard to read text, you can use your profile for all of that additional information that got cut from your resume for the sake of length. So there you have it, a modern branded executive career portfolio with all of the documents created to present a cohesive message. Now I want to thank you for watching. Whether you're a seasoned CEO or a young professional just getting started in your career, the resumes that we write and other career marketing services that we provide can speed your job search, open doors, advance your career more quickly, and help you to really elevate your earnings potential so you can make more money. Now, our approach is very personal and one-on-one, but it's also, after more than 25 years of doing this, very streamlined and efficient. We take all of the worry and struggle and the stress out of the entire process for you. In just 2 to 4 weeks, we can completely transform your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your bio, and your entire personal career marketing strategy. Now, if you're thinking it's time to revamp your branded career portfolio, or you're wanting to feel the peace of mind and the confidence that comes with knowing that you are competitively positioned for the career path that you desire, then reach out to us to get started working with us today. And you can visit www.distinctiveweb.com to request a quote, or if you still have questions, just give us a call, 800-644-9694. And again, thank you.